Alright, this is Nate Nessler for Hyperactive Studios, and we're getting ready to do part 2 of the Apache LAMP InDepth with Ubuntu, and we're getting ready to set up some more of the base stuff that we need. Let's look at doing some of the monitoring services with MRTG along with SNMP and SNMPD daemon. Now, we did leave this off. I totally forgot about this. We do need this in. This is the daemon. This is basically the server. Daemon means server. For the SNMP, and this lets us do our monitoring of site access and when people are hitting the server and all this stuff. So let's continue on from there. And I'm just going to pass over into here. You will absolutely need to install this ahead of time. Something I forgot about. Once you do, you should get a different layout here with it actually installing. I've already installed this, so that's why you're seeing it like this. Yours might have a lot more stuff going on, and there needs to probably be a lot more processes here to be installed. It's going to take a little longer than mine just did because mine was already installed. But that aside, once you do have it installed, we're going to have to set the community string among other things. So one of the things we need to do is cd into /etc/snp like that. ls, and then we get a couple of files now. Before, if we only had just snp, we'd only gotten snp.conf, which isn't really going to give us what we want. We really need snpd.conf because that's the server. So I need a vim because now we have vim, right? So snpd.conf, like so, enter. And I get nothing. Why do I get nothing? Because I forgot to sudo it. So :q, exclamation mark, hit up arrow again, let's sudo that, because we have to be root privileged to access and edit servers. Alright. So here we are inside of the file for snpd.conf using vim. Now I'm just going to scroll on down using my arrow keys here. And I'm down at the RO community. Now yours says RO community here, public default -v system only. Alright, this is the community string. This matters. This is essentially like your password for this whole system going between the different devices. So we need to put a # in front of that. In order to do that, I'm going to hit the I key on the keyboard. I is in intelligent. And once we do say I in there, we're going to say # to comment it out. By putting a # from it, it means it's not going to be seen by the computer. And then we need to type up RO community on the line right below it, space, and I'm just called mine test password. Now you could actually put any password you want, but I call mine test password for the simple fact that it's a stupid password to use for a demonstration and not a real password I would use. You probably want to put a real password you would use, but I just did this password for now for demonstration purposes. Alright, and then once I type that in, I'm going to hit the escape key on my keyboard, and I'm going to hold down shift, and while I'm holding down shift, I'm going to hit Z as in Zachary 2 times. Z, Z. Z as in Zoro. Alright. There's a very image of a Z. The sword and everything. Alright, so once we do that and edit, we need to restart the server to make it basically recognize the changes that we just made. So since we made changes to this, we do need to restart it. So the way to do that is say service space, and then the name of the service we're going to restart. In this case, is SNMPD server here, and we're going to say restart, and it's going to restart it. And of course, I'm permission denied because I forgot to put sudo in front of it. It's becoming a common reoccurrence, right? Sudo in front of our service SNMPD restart. Boy, I can't say that. And then the service now restarts. Awesome. So now if that restarted, we can start running some of these other commands. Now, I did these hand by hand to make sure they work. But basically down this section right here, I did several things. First off, we need to make, now you could just run this script at this point and it would work, and that'd be fine, and that'd be great. But if you don't want to, you could also do it hand by hand. I'm going to step you through it line by line to show you it working. How to do the setup. Alright. Because I feel like it. But I put it into the script so it's there, permanently. Okay. Now I did run into some permission issues here and there. It's not going to do it for me because I already made it. But for you, it'll create a folder. And you won't get an error. Okay, let's look at another one. Okay, so I need to copy this here, and then I'm going to show you this backs it up basically. Basically keeps our file all nice and happy safe. So that's good. That's a good thing to do. Alright, come back here. Actually, I shouldn't have done this since I already did it earlier. I'm going to come in here like so, and you see this whole entire line. Well, I'm going to say Control C again. I'm going to pop in here. I'm going to show you what happens here with this. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete this part here first. Where it says IP address, $, where it says $, IP address, I'm going to put 127.0.0.1, which is localhost, loopback, whatever. And when I do this, you see that it actually generates a whole bunch of information, which is cool. Isn't that neat? But this is going to be our configuration file. So what we need to do is redirect that. I'm just holding down Control, Shift, and V. If you can't remember how to do that, just right click on here and you can say paste. So I like to use hotkeys because it's faster. Once you do this stuff a lot, trust me, you'll do it too. So, but I'm just going to go ahead and redirect this into a file. So instead of making it go to the screen now, I'm going to make it go to a file. Like that. Bam. Alright, so now I wrote it all out into a file. Yay. Alright, so that exists now. And now what can we do? Well, next step is then copy this over the original file here. Yes, yes. Well, we already backed it up, so we're all good to go. Alright. Now I'm going to come over here. I was getting a permission denied when I tried to do it directly on this file. So if you might be going, why are you doing this roundabout? Well, I'm doing roundabout because of permission. It assassins me with permissions. So I was sudo, so you would think that I would be able to do it, but nope. So I just did a workaround instead. Alright, so in here, same kind of idea. I'm going to use this index maker to actually write my HTML file. So instead of writing the HTML file myself, I'm not going to. I'm going to use a little program to do it for me. Yes, laziness for the win. Alright, so we're going to say enter there. Like so. And I'm going to pass over to here. Copy again. Bing, copy over it. Back over to my file. I'm going to remove it. Like so. Back over here. We can now see it in Firefox. So I could type this in, but I'm too lazy to do that. So I'm going to come back over to my browser here where I already have Firefox up and running, where we left off. And now all I have to do is say /mrtg, enter, and now get the statistics of accessing the page. Okay, so we can see a graph of wherever we access this, how much and how often it's being accessed, and it does a traffic grapher here as far as that goes with this. Very, very cool. Well, let's look at another setup we need to do, and that is creating a whole PHP application. Now I could pull this up in a program and write it up, but one of the things you want to do is test to see what's installed on PHP. And this is just kind of like early getting started stuff, getting things set up, kind of see, have things in place that you need to have working. So I'm just going to cd real quick into /var/ww ls to give me a list, and I can see index and mrtg folders. Now I need to have a configuration file, so I need info. I'm just going to call this file info.php, right? So info.php. But in order to create this file, I need to redirect into that file to make it. And if I use echo, remember echo will actually display text to the screen. Well, instead of making it go to the screen, I can make it go into a file. So that's quite cool because I can then come in here and say basically a PHP tag, and then I can say PHP info. I think that's the right one for the function, and then I can just simply say, assuming I do not forget something here, and then put my PHP closing tag here. I'm trying to remember if I need a semicolon there or not. Alright. And permission denied. I need to sudo that. Still permission denied. Alright, fine. Let's just vim it. Vim info.php. Alright. I'm going to hit I key to go into edit mode. I'm going to click to make sure it lets me do it. I key, thank you. It wasn't letting me type. Alright. Then PHP. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and tab that over and make this all pretty, like I should. And then I'm going to say info PHP. Can't remember if it's PHP info or info PHP. I think there's a semicolon at the end and then push mark close like that. Escape, Shift, Z. I forgot to sudo this vim. Alright. Again, come over here, sudo space enter, put in the password yet again. Alright. I key to go into edit mode, open, tag here for PHP, enter, tab, info, PHP, open close parentheses, semicolon, enter, close tag, so enter, escape, Shift Z. Alright. Now this page should exist. Now I should be able to come over here and just create a new tab real quick. And of course we got a regular old localhost. For love of... Alright. Click in here. Please take... Thank you, localhost. And then I can say that automatically gets directed to index.html. But I can also say /info.php. And if I did it right, which I hope I did, but it may not have. Looks like I didn't. Okay, so I made one mistake here. Okay. It is PHP info. There we go. Yep, it recognized that command. It went blue on me. That's good. It says PHP info. My mistake. I don't recall telling it to go over there. There we go. Don't know why it went to www.localhost.net, but anyway, it's localhost here /info.php, and this starts showing me all my PHP modules that are installed. Alrighty. So PHP ini file, yeah, we can go in here and change. That's where you do make all your modifications to your PHP configuration file. That file can be rather huge. It can get really, really long. But essentially, this outputs. Now, you wouldn't want to leave this up after you get your setup going. You would want to delete this file because this can actually give hackers, people who crack into networks and crack into pages and things of that nature, access. Not hackers that would like make patches, but bad, malicious hackers. Let's put it that way. That would let them have information as to what they can do to attack the system. So you don't want to give them that information. You want to hide that from them. So it's rather important here that you withhold it. But we can see all these different modules, what settings are, etc. Here we have curl, whoever, date, DBA, DOM, etc. FFmpeg, file info, filter, FTP, GD, GeoIP, get text, gmp hash. Yeah, we didn't have our mhash here. JSON, ldap, libxml, mbstring, encrypt, memcache, mhash. You get all this stuff. It's great. So this is really nice because then you can just kind of scroll through this, and then if there's something missing that you need, you could then go, oh, I need that, and then so you go in and install that particular PHP 5 module that you need that's missing, just like we went through in the previous video. Alright, and so that's the end of that. So there we are with that setup right there, and that is how you can then see what's going on with your PHP info. On one other note here, let's just go and talk a little bit about setting ports and things of that nature for Apache. We're just going to keep it real simple at first here, and then we're going to start digging more and more in depth here on the configuration file for Apache. Alright, so let's pull that up now. Let's go into our terminal. Come back here, and I'm just going to go into cd here, cd . Alright, cd into slash etc slash apache 2, I believe. Yep. ls, and there's all our stuff, including our apache 2.conf and httpd.conf. So we can see these different configuration files if we like. So for instance, I could say httpd.conf and have a look at it. Of course, I need to be root. I keep doing that. Why do I keep doing that? Sudo it. Ugh. And there's nothing in there. It's fine because it's going to be elsewhere. So let's look at Apache 2 instead, as this is going to be your configuration file. So we have a timeout on this before something times out. Keep alive. This is the number of seconds, so times out after 300 seconds. Max alive requests. So basically, and it's nice. These little configuration files kind of tell you what's going on. So it's the maximum number of requests to allow during a persistent connection. Set to 0 to allow for unlimited amount. Recommend that you leave this number high for maximum performance. You probably want to set it to 0 because then you can end up allowing more people than your computer can handle and crash it on your server. So just FYI on that, but if you wanted to, that's how you would do it. Keep a live timeout here, number of seconds to wait for the next request from the same client on the same connection. So there you go. That keeps people from hitting you over and over and over again and taking down your network. Could be used as some form of an attack, basically. And then we have other ones here like prefork, npm, start server's number of server processes to start. And that's what your start servers are. Min spare servers, minimum number of server processes which are kept spare. Max spare servers, the maximum number of servers processes which are kept spare. Max clients, maximum number of server processes allowed to start. And max request per child, maximum number of requests server process serves. And this is for performance. I'm not going to get into it really right now. We'll get into it later. This is also performance right here of the npm worker module. Event module is also performance. Here's your group. Here's your HT access file. We'll be getting into this later on. This is for security. And here you get some allow, deny type stuff happening there. Type none. We'll be getting to error logs, different log levels. We'll have a dedicated video to that. Here's different mods, how to load them, configuration files. Include stuff from your httpd.conf here. Ports.conf file, we'll have a look at it for a second here. Log format, you can actually find your log format. Probably don't want to touch that though. But if you want to, you can go in here and edit it. Include.confd, and then sites enable. And sites enable is going to hold all your virtual host configurations and in that folder. And I'll go into that in another video dedicated to that. Alright, so that's kind of the overall there, but we're actually calling out to other files here to basically um, cover the whole configuration file. It's kind of daunting for the whole configuration file. There's about 1,000 configuration options or so in it. So they're breaking it up to smaller files to simplify the process for what you're looking for. So inside of ports, this gets into the ports, like what port we listen on, name of the virtual host port, etc. Also mod here SSL, listed on port 443, and that's for SSL purposes. And this is if you're doing any kind of like banking transactions or anything like secure transactions. Note if you're doing that, you do need to be registered with a third party there to validate that you are a legitimate company. So that's kind of important. We'll get more into that stuff later on. But if I wanted to change my port, say I wanted to listen on port instead of 80, which is default port for web pages is port 80. If I did want to be on 880, I would then change that, or some other port for that matter. Maybe this is a custom secure type server. I don't want other people to find it easily and they have to know what port it is just to connect to the page or server or whatever. Then I can then say escape, shift CZ. Let's see if a particular thing will work for me. Service Apache 2, and if I say graceful, I wonder if that works on here. It does. Awesome. What graceful does, instead of just restart, is it restarts, but it doesn't close down any connections currently held for any particular client, so it won't mess up a client, and so therefore you get this perfect transaction update on the server without actually affecting anyone using the web page server that's on the web page that's currently accessing the web page. So when you restart, it doesn't actually disrupt their connections or what they're doing. It doesn't mess it up. So it's really, really cool, very powerful, really awesome, and it's quite neat. But yeah, so now as I go to do a port here, you'll see a problem. So by default, when we type in these addresses or whatnot, it automatically defaults to port 80. It's just as if you typed in port 80 without ever typing it. So it's kind of like hidden, if you will. So if I do this right now, it's going to default to port 80. And apparently it's still working. I should be able to say 880 now. And it works. There we go. And you can see that we have our Tomcat set up successfully because we did do that earlier. And so we actually have the ability to launch database backend server applications with Java, which is very cool. So there we are. And anyhow, there's that. But I don't want to leave it like this, so I'm going to go back and set it back to 80 because 80 is really what I want on this configuration file. You probably don't want to change it. I'm just doing this for explanatory purposes of, hey, you can do this thing. But you know, we really want to listen on port 80 and not 880. So hit escape, hold down shift, hit ZZ to save that. Again, it's going to use my up arrows to get back to a previous command I've typed. I'm going to go sudo servos here, Apache 2 space graceful, to then reload again gracefully without having to restart it and interrupt any processes. Yep, that covers an introduction. There's also a document root, which we didn't really get into. I don't think that was in the ports one, was it? No, sure wasn't. So it's hiding off in another file somewhere. Document root is kind of an important file as far as that goes. So, but we will get inside these other ones here. cd into conf d ls. Those errors. Okay, well, we'll get into where it is here for setting the document root, and then we'll handle it also over here in the sites available, sites enabled area for as handling virtual hosts here in the next video. Usually virtual hosts are covered a little later on, but I want to cover them early on because they're really important and you use them all the time. So we're just going to modify that. So I can come in here and you can see default here. For instance, if I cat default, you can use this to create additional ones. We'll go into that, how to copy this and use it to create additional virtual hosts that we can then have applied to each individual user in a more sensible manner for as deploying web pages and web page services. All right, very, very cool. With that, that is the second video for how to get going here. Just very basic configuration, just very basic, getting the ball rolling, getting things kind of running and up and going. At this point, we could actually code a web page. We'd have to put it in /var/www. In the next video, we're going to come up with a better way where we can actually assign different web pages to different user accounts using virtual hosting inside of Apache, and that makes things a lot better. All right, so with that, my name is Nate Nestler, and this is for High Practice Studios. Thank you very much.